Welcome to the Bugs and Blossoms Poetry Workshop. All you need for this workshop is a pen or pencil, some paper, I like to use my notebook to write poetry in, and a little imagination. You can do this workshop and write a poem along with the video at home, or you can visit some of the beautiful Suffolk countryside around us looking for bugs and blossoms to inspire you. Hello, my name is Derek Adams and I love to write poems, and today I'd like to help you write a poem. Some people, grown-ups, say poetry is difficult, but I will tell you a secret, it's not. Do you know what poetry is? Poetry just means having fun playing with words. You can forget about all those boring rules about writing that they tell you in school. You know, like a sentence has to start with a capital letter, comma, have lots of boring words, comma, and keeps going until eventually you get to a full stop. In a poem, you can just finish a line when you get to an interesting word that you like. It doesn't have to be at the end of a sentence or even at the edge of a page. And you can start every line with an uppercase letter if you want, or not. It's up to you. You're a poet. Your poem can be long or short. In fact, some poems are very, very short. Do you know what a flea is? Those tiny little bugs that can live in the hair of dogs and cats and sometimes people. An American poet called Strickland Gillian wrote a tiny poem about fleas. It goes, Adam had 'em. So you see, poems don't have to be very long at all. Today I'm at this lovely churchyard in Blythburgh, and I'm going to look around for some bugs and blossoms to try and inspire some poems. The first thing I found is this lovely chestnut tree with its spiky seed pods. Here's one that I've just picked up off the floor that's already starting to open, and you can see the seeds in it. Here I'm looking at the hedgerow around the church, which contains lots of interesting things, like these tasty blackberries. Here is some ivy growing. The insects love to feed on the ivy's flowers. There are a lot of wasps feeding here, and I follow them back to their nest where they're bringing back food to feed the colony. This bright yellow flower is called Ragwalt. Can you see the small moth on the flower on the right? He's feeding on the pollen too. I found a field grasshopper. Can you see how well he's disguised against the straw-coloured grass? Here's another one. He's a bit easier to spot on this gravestone. Here's a bright purple and spiky thistle. And underneath the trees I found this flower. It's called a white campion. Here are some bees feeding on the pollen from flowers. And some more blackberries. This time you can see the flowers, and also can you spot the ladybird? He's feeding on small insects that he can find. Some poems rhyme. They don't have to, but rhyme is a fun thing to play with. Rhyming words are words that sound the same. They don't have to be spelt the same. They don't even have to be the same length. And because, as I said earlier, you can forget about rules in poetry, you can use words that nearly rhyme, like bean and bin, or seen and seem, as long as they sound good together. Now, one of the things that I like to do is think of a word and make a list of words that rhyme. I thought of rhyme earlier, and I came up with this list: time, climb, mine, line, lime, fine, nine, chime, sign, mime, slime. Then I looked at my list and arranged the words that I liked into a poem, and here it is. Rhyme. Let's take some time to find words that rhyme. When you've got 8 or 9, pick the ones that sound fine. Use them like a sign at the end of a line to make a poem chime, like I have done with mine. Here are 2 lists of words. I'd like you to pick 2 words, one from each list, and try to think of 6 to 10 words that rhyme with them. If you have someone watching this video with you, a friend or a family member, you can make this more fun by taking in turns to call out the rhymes. If you can't find 6 words that rhyme with the word that you've chosen, don't worry. Just pick another word from the list and start again. Now, pause the video and start making your list of rhymes. Okay, we're going to save that list of words to help us write a poem later. And if you haven't got lots of words in your rhyme list, don't worry. Not every line in a poem has to use the same rhyming words. Here is an 8-line poem that uses 4 different sets of rhyming words. Speckled Blue Egg. I found a speckled blue egg, broke, on the ground beneath an oak. When I looked up into the tree, what did I see? On a branch was a nest where the egg used to rest. From inside it I heard a baby blackbird. Another thing you can do as a poet to make your poem more interesting and exciting is called alliteration. Alliteration means writing with words which start with the same letters. For example, you could say, "Look at the lichen living on this stone." Or perhaps, "Bees buzz all around, flying from flower to flower, foraging for food." Here is a short poem that mixes alliteration and rhyme. It's called Molehill. Here's a little hill made by a mole, burrowing beneath, deep down in his hole. What I'd like you to do now is pause the video and write down a couple of lines of poetry using some words that begin with the same letter. And if you could use the same letter as the two words that you chose to make your rhyme list, that would be brilliant. When I'm looking for inspiration for a poem, I write down details in my notebook that I can use later. Like, the church has a tall tower, or the grass is long. I make notes of colours. A grey stone with yellow lichen living on it. A white butterfly on a purple flower. I make notes of the sounds that I can hear. Sound of birds singing, the wind blowing through the leaves on the trees, sound of my feet on the gravel, the buzzing of bees, Here are some notes I wrote in Blythburgh churchyard. When you write your poem, you don't have to include every detail from your notes, but having them will help you remember things and give you ideas. At last, it's time for you to write your poem. By now, you should have some lists of words that rhyme that you can place at the end of lines, and you should have written a couple of lines using words that begin with the same letter. You don't have to use those exact lines in your poem, but you may be able to use the words that you used in them. And if you've been out somewhere seeking inspiration, you may have written some notes. Right, make sure that you have these three things ready before you start your poem. Your pen or pencil, your paper, and most importantly, your imagination. I want you to imagine yourself as an insect. You could be a ladybird, You could be a bee or a wasp. You could be a beautiful butterfly or a moth. You could even be a bluebottle. Imagine flying around the churchyard, visiting the flowers. What do you see? Where do you land? Do you meet other insects? Do you see any birds? Do you see any people down there? What do you think of them? Now is the time to let your imagination fly. And when you've written your poem, I'd really love to see it, and so would the other people at Waveney and Blythe Arts. You can email us your poems to newsletter@waveneyandblythearts.com, or you can put them on social media and tag us, #BioBlitzArts. I'm really looking forward to reading your poem. Before I go, I will just leave you with a poem for inspiration that I wrote earlier, which is called Be Happy. I get a buzz flying all alone, high above the cold grey stones, roaming on the breeze, spending sultry summer hours, foraging among the flowers, wandering where I please. I'm so happy, hear me hum. I'm a prince among bees, with a queen for a mum.